US President Barack Obama is calling on world powers to do more to keep nuclear weapons out of the hands of terrorists. He hosted leaders from more than 50 countries at a nuclear security summit that wrapped up on Friday. Mr. Obama says he secured enough support for an amendment to a nuclear security treaty to tighten protections against nuclear theft and smuggling.
Just the smallest amount of plutonium, about the size of an apple, could kill and injure hundreds of thousands of innocent people. It would be a humanitarian, political, economic, and environmental catastrophe with global ramifications for decades. It would change our world. So we cannot be complacent. We have to build on our progress. This will also be an opportunity to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to keep a terrorist group like ISIL from ever getting its hands not just on a nuclear weapon, but any weapon of mass destruction.
CNN's Global Affairs correspondent Elise Labbot joins us now from Washington with more on all of this. Elise, the US president said even though no terrorist group, or madmen, as he put it, has managed to get their hands on an atomic weapon or a dirty bomb, he said we can't afford to be complacent. What will this amendment to the treaty ensure?
Well, basically, it entitles new protections, new safeguards for keeping civilian nuclear material now. I mean, look, everyone's talking about enriched uranium or plutonium. These are, the need to secure nuclear material that could be used for a nuclear bomb. But equally, if not more concerning and more vulnerable to theft, is some of this civilian nuclear material. And that takes place in, is kept in hospitals, commercial, industrial plants. And that's what really is seen as being vulnerable to theft by terrorists for so-called dirty bombs. So there are talking about new protections for the safeguarding of civilian nuclear materials in some of these plants, but also about transporting them and also about there was a lot of these talk at this meeting yesterday, Lynda, particularly on the session on nuclear terrorism and ISIS, about vetting personnel at certain nuclear facilities. You know that Alexandra was talking about Brussels. This ISIS cell that was believed responsible for the Brussels attacks and the Paris attacks, when they raided one of the suspects' house, they found surveillance video of a top nuclear scientist. And so there is a real concern that terrorists are trying to get a hold of nuclear material, and that's why President Obama specifically wanted to drill down on protections for civilian nuclear material.
Yeah, you raise a very good point there. We'll have to leave it there for now. Elise Labbot for us live from Washington. Thank you very much. The summit also set the stage for President Obama to weigh in on politics at home, and he says the Republican frontrunner for the White House may not be fit for office. Mr. Obama responded to Donald Trump's assertion that Japan and South Korea should consider obtaining nuclear weapons.
The person who made the statements doesn't know much about foreign policy or nuclear policy or the Korean Peninsula or the world generally. It came up on the sidelines. I've said before that, people pay attention to American elections. What we do is really important to the rest of the world.